Shalom, Kahal Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, Bahashim Kodash. Double honors to the elder apostles and elder bishops of GMS, including the elders that came before them, that taught us His truth. And shalom and salutations to all the brothers that push the word in truth and in sincerity, the hopeful elect tabernacle of David. All right, so this lesson, I keep going back to this particular issue, but that's the spirit. And we have to see a bigger picture of what's going on. And I came across this video. It's kind of lengthy. So I'm going to play bits and pieces of it to get the point across. The point being that Brazil had a Donald Trump January 6th moment. It's too identical. And then in the video, you got some Brazilians, if you will, Brasilia. They're talking about it, and they're just pretty much outright saying that, it's the same thing. We're watching a playbook here. All right, there are too many similarities. Not only that, and we'll just have to watch it, okay, and pick out the similarities, and then try to figure out what this devil is doing. All right, because it's a playbook. And maybe they want us to see it, to see who's going to say something, call us sea theorists or whatever. So this is 2 Corinthians 2:11. Lest Satan, right, should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. We know how this devil gets down, and we can see, those of us that have on the We Live glasses, we can see this devil clearly. All right, NIV. In order that Satan might not outwit us, for we are not unaware of his schemes. This is a scheme, all right, an evil scheme, all right? Schema, device, plans. What are these plans that we're looking at, okay? Because exactly what's going on in Brazil right now happened here. The only difference is Trump was still president when he did his insurrection. They hadn't done the formality of the signing over yet. His intention. What are his intentions? His purposes. All right. What is this devil up to? Let's go here. Ecclesiastes 1:9. The thing that hath been, it is that which shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done, and there is no new thing under the sun. So whatever is happening in Brazil, okay, they did it right here. This isn't new. This is a playbook. All right. Now we get this. Sirach 5:15. Be not ignorant of anything, in a great matter or a small. So I keep going back to this. That's the spirit. But the spirit wants to point this thing out one way or the other. Whether it gets me in trouble, this could be an ambush, a trap. Whoever brings out this information, we're going to spy on them. Okay, so one day ago, France 24, this just came on, right? And that's the spirit. I was watching some videos, and sometimes you just let the next video play, and this is what came up. Brazil's democracy under threat. Lula vows post-riot crackdown on far-right supporters. That's what's going on right now with these maggots, right? Whoever stormed the Capitol building right now, it is or is not receiving jail time or whatever. Donald J. Trump is still running around. Now they're making an illusion, all right? Do not be deceived. We're going to get into that. Deception is at an all-time high. Deep fakes, whatever the hell is, whatever we're seeing on the tele could be a hoax, all right? The war could be a hoax. That could be some wag the dog type shit, right? So we got to be careful. Be not ignorant of anything. We have to scrutinize. We have to figure out what this devil is up to and be ready for whatever he's about to pull, because his time is short. So let's watch this. And I might have to scroll through this a little bit to get, it's pretty long. It's 44 minutes. We're not going to do all of that. But I'm going to get to some of the points where they're making comparisons between what happened in Brazil directly to what happened on January 6th right here. So start at the top.
And welcome to the France 24 debate. I'm Mark Owen. Scenes of open revolt in Brazil, protesters invading the presidential palace, the Supreme Court in the capital of Brasilia, also the Congress, an angry mob of supporters of defeated presidential candidate Jair Bolsonaro. The far-right mob causing huge damage to the headquarters of the three powers in Brasilia, the Palácio do Planalto, which is the presidential palace, the Congress and the Federal Supreme Court. Brazil's Ministry of Justice says there are some 300 people under arrest. Independent estimates say that figure is far higher. President Lula da Silva was visiting flooded areas near Sao Paulo at the time. He wasted no time in calling the mob fascists and promising those responsible would be punished. Bolsonaro, the outgoing president, lost to left-wing candidate Lula da Silva back in October. The margin of victory was slim.
Now, Lula is the president that just came in, a la Joe Biden, okay? And Bonasaro, I believe is his name, he would be the Donald Trump, okay, figure. And it's the same story. So pay attention to, far right, that would be the Trump supporters. That's the Bonasaro supporters, right? So Joe Biden is the Lula. He's cracking down on the far right. Same scenario.
50.9% to 49.1%. Bolsonaro immediately called fraud. He refused to concede. And the lack of respect of the democratic process has festered into a rotten wound at the heart.
Okay, so same thing. Donald Trump refused to concede even though he lost the election. And then they started saying it was rigged and da-da-da-da. It's the same exact playbook, okay? And we need to, at least understand this.
Refused to concede. And the lack of respect of the democratic process has festered into a rotten wound at the heart of Brazilian society, resulting in what happened this weekend. It perhaps mirrors a similar rejection of democracy in other places, notably the United States. We'll talk more about that in a moment. Let's introduce our panel to discuss the situation. Here on set we have with us Maria Paula Carvalho, who's a journalist with the Brazilian service at Radio France International. Thank you very much for being with us. Pleasure to see you. On the other side of our studio, Ligia Maura Costa, who is a professor at the FGV, which is the Getúlio Vargas Foundation, a business school. Thank you for joining us. On the other side of the studio, Philippe Galvão, who is a filmmaker. Thank you, sir, for being with us too. And we have waiting for us in Brazil, our correspondent, Tim Vickery. Tim, we'll get to you in a moment. First, let's take a look at our report of the events as they unfolded.
It's cool.
Now pay close attention to the comparisons to Jan 6, okay? Because they break it right down and say, well, what's going on? They're saying, what the hell is going on here? This is the same thing. This is some bullshit, and this is a plan. They're saying it themselves.
Of the events as they unfolded.
Escorted by the police and security forces, rioters board buses in their hundreds, heading for detention. One cries foul of what she sees as an injustice.
There are no criminals here. We were just protesting.
Okay, now, where did those buses come from? They hired a whole bunch of buses. They fed people. They brought them there so that they can do it. And at one point, the panel is going to say, who's responsible? Who paid for this? What's going on some, what's this guy's name? Soros. On some Soros type shit. Okay? So this is a worldwide thing that's going on.
Want to save the country.
During the uprising that lasted several hours, supporters of former President Jair Bolsonaro ransacked Brazil's Congress, Presidential Palace, and Supreme Court.
Okay, and let me say this. I know I'm talking to, I'm going to let it play. But what the people that were bussed in said was, we didn't do anything, but there was a contingent of paid opposition, right, that came in to do all of the smashing. Exactly what happened on January 6th, what they said that it was, what did they call them? Not BLM, but Antifa. Well, it was Antifa came in dressed up like us. Da 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 da. They're saying exactly the same thing.
In scenes eerily reminiscent of the US Capitol riot 2 years ago.
There it is.
This in protest at Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva being sworn in as president a week ago, claiming his election victory in October over Bolsonaro was a fraud. Lula declared a federal security intervention in the capital until the end of the month, slamming the protesters as fascists and blaming his far-right predecessor for inflaming his supporters from abroad.
It's a genocide. This was provoked and stimulated, and which is still being stimulated through social networks from Miami, where he went.
Bolsonaro left for the United States just 2 days before his mandate was to end, a move widely seen as an attempt to evade Brazilian justice. He took to Twitter rejecting Lula's accusations and saying the invasion crossed the line.
Peaceful demonstrations, in the form of the law, are part of democracy. However, depredations and invasions of public buildings, as occurred today, as well as those practiced by the left in 2013 and 2017, escaped the rule.
Okay, so they just said the left broke in and did damn. And what they're saying now is even though it was the right that showed up, okay, they're saying that they sent leftists in undercover, acting like the protesters who actually, broke shit up. So pretty much like they said Antifa was, well, it was Antifa at January 6th, and they're the real culprits, da-da-da-da. So it's just too much the same.
Brazil's Supreme Court removed the governor of Brasilia, a Bolsonaro ally, from office for 90 days over security flaws. Ibanez Rocha had already come under criticism for putting the former justice minister, a Bolsonaro loyalist, in charge of public security in the federal district. Images shared on social media also showed military police appearing to guide the rioters towards the government buildings and initially not putting up any resistance to the invasion.
Okay, so that's very important right there. Let's play that back because this is exactly what they said in January 6th, that they, first of all, they didn't have enough law enforcement. They didn't have enough protection, if you will. And then they said that the people basically let them in and guided them up to the building, right? It's identical. This is identical to January 6th, okay? They're saying it, okay? And then the panel is going to break it down even further.
Military police appearing to guide the rioters towards the government buildings.
Okay, let me play that back.
Peaceful demonstrations, in the form of the law, are part of democracy. However, depredations and invasions of public buildings, as occurred today, as well as those practiced by the left in 2013 and 2017, escaped the rule.
Brazil's Supreme Court removed the governor of Brasilia, a Bolsonaro ally, from office for 90 days over security flaws. Ibanez Rocha had already come under criticism for putting the former justice minister, a Bolsonaro loyalist, in charge of public security in the federal district. Images shared on social media also showed military police appearing to guide the rioters towards the government buildings and initially not putting up any resistance to the invasion.
You can go over that report. Just to point out the obvious, we've got three guests here who are Brazilian. We have a correspondent who's practically Brazilian in his outlook, Tim Vickery, who we'll come to in a moment. Let's start here in the studio with Maria Paula Carvalho, journalist in the Brazilian service at Radio France International. What are your feelings right now about what's happened?
Well, I can tell you that I'm not surprised, because if you see the images we saw yesterday in Brasilia, they are quite similar to the ones of the 6th January in Washington, when the supporters of Donald Trump invaded the Capitol building. Donald Trump, which is an ally of Bolsonaro, Bolsonaro is in the US now, so it seems that this is part of probably an international right-wing movement.
Oh, okay. She equated both of those things to be the same thing, going to a higher purpose, which is the NWO, and she's right, okay? These people are not against each other. They're working together on something that you can't see, something that's being hidden, the hidden hand, if you will.
Despite the fact that the movement was quite spread in social media, the demonstrators found no resistance in Brasilia yesterday. So the police in Brasilia didn't do anything to stop them, and so it was surprising for me as a Brazilian to see all those people entering these beautiful modernist buildings signed by our architect Oscar Niemeyer. Why did the police just look on? But if you talk to Bolsonaro's supporters, they will say that they are tired of being disrespected. They are tired of being robbed. They will call Lula a robber, a thief. You know, I told you here when we came to talk about the elections
Discussed it
that
before,
if
yes.
Lula is the most loved man in Brazil, he is also the hated man in Brazil at this moment. And so I think people don't forget that he was involved in the car wash investigation and this supposed involvement of him with corruption. And some people really believe they are participating in a revolution in Brazil, and then they really have to save the country from this rotten and corrupted system. So they continue saying they are not violent. They are saying they were protecting public possesses. So you can see videos in the internet. They are protecting the art that we can see in the palace. So they will say there were people infiltrated, the people from Workers' Party that were participated on that. But now things have changed. I think this is going.
Okay, so what she just said is people infiltrated. That would be the Antifa side. So you got MAGA out there protesting for what they think. And then when Trump says, okay, now go down and protest, then Antifa takes over and starts hitting and breaking shit and climbing and, So basically she said the same thing. Now, when you get into Salakia, this guy, all right, she's saying one thing. These two, this one here and this one here, are saying something totally different. So they're controlled opposition, right? And then, so it's sort of a debate, right? But when you get right down to it, all of them are on the camera, right? So they're all working together. Anybody that's on the camera, right, has been vetted and is there for a reason. All right, so never forget that. We'll watch a little more.
Strengthen even more Lula because he has received support from the other powers and even international leaders now.
Paula, thank you for now very much. Let's cross the studio. Legia Maura Costa from the Getulio Vargas Foundation. From the business aspect, of course, this has made Brazil's stock plunge. People will question the stability of the country. It might affect what goes forward. But can I just ask you for a sort of a primary gut reaction about it? When you see those images, what do you feel?
I feel that I would love to see my country all over the news in the world, but not in this situation. From an economic perspective, Brazil is facing a huge challenge. And now we cannot focus on economy aspects because we have to focus on governability, on a sustainable government after what has happened yesterday. So I think this is not nice for the country. On the other hand, what it is good, it is that the stock exchange market has just remained stable today. So this is really something that we have to think about it.
Maybe I've read there's been a fall. There's been no real fall in stock.
No, not
okay.
Today.
Interesting.
Not today. This is very interesting.
Okay, now, yeah, it's very interesting that you bring up money, okay? Because all economies, right, and all countries are focused on one thing, and that is to get their CBDC in order, right? And this is probably at the heart of why people are protesting, because they're being forced into a new economy, if you will, or a new monetary system. That's what they're actually protesting. They're turning it into something else, right? Like being disenfranchised or whatever. Everybody's about to be disenfranchised if you understand where this thing is going. So this is Smoke and Mirrors, right? And she's part of the Smoke and Mirrors, right? Yeah, what's coming has to do with money. Yeah, what's coming has to do with the control of money, right? You won't be able to eat if you don't do what we say, right? We'll give you some money, but we'll turn that money off. The control of money. Okay, so I think I already saw that. We'll watch a little, let me see. Let's watch when this guy comes in, the producer. Right about here. Let's see what he's going to say. The movie producer.
Well, sadly. Thank you, Ligio Mora, for that. We'll be back to you in a second. Felipe Galvo, filmmaker. If this was a film, people would say it was just too much of a fantasy. They wouldn't believe it, would they?
And it is a film. Okay. And just the question that he's posing to the filmmaker, right? And we'll watch his answer in a minute. But this is all theater. Okay, the whole thing. This is all theater. And they're all serving their purpose. They're all in their place. Okay, now listen close to what...
Big Alvo, filmmaker.
Listen to his reply.
If this was a film, people would say it was just too much of a fantasy. They wouldn't believe it, would they?
It's an horror movie.
Horror movie, yeah.
And but it's a horror movie that took place a long time ago, and we are seeing the climax. And yesterday there were 4 hours of chaos, and the message for me is clear: there will be 4 years of chaos.
He said 4 years of chaos. Now what he's going to admit to being right in the chaos rolling film. Okay. Now, how convenient is that? There's a word that that is very essential to everything you see going on, especially a takeover. It's called propaganda. He's making propaganda films with all these extras out here doing what they're getting paid to do. Get on the bus, we'll pay your ticket, we'll feed you, we'll give you some money. This is Soros-funded. I'm not sure that Soros is the billionaire, but somebody is funding this, all right?
And there will be no peace.
So that's during the mandate of Lula, there will be continued provocation.
That's it. For me, it's a movement that is very profound, is very, how do I say, molecular. There were not leaders, very clear leaders of this movement. And the tendency is to that the episodes like that will be frequent. And I think that we saw the first act yesterday. The first act of something. There will be not something equal in Brasilia, because Brasilia is made for not allowing people to affront the power. So it was made like that. It's architected for this.
So it's actually designed architecturally to stop this kind of confrontation.
To stop very, very rapidly some protests, some.
So hang on, so Nehemiah, the architect, designed this place in order to help the police stop what might happen.
And even.
Which reinforces what Maria Paula was saying about what were the police actually doing.
Yeah, and there were orders that were not being obeyed. You know, for example, that's why the governor of the federal district was ejected, because it happens that he was supposed to make the policeman go at one time, and he didn't did anything. And
there was a stand-down order, okay? So the whole thing is orchestrated. And they're explaining that, right, for the larger cause, right, which is destabilization. They want to destabilize the government, right, so that they can bring in the solution, right? Order ab chaos.
Even worse, the policemen didn't show up. They received orders and didn't show up. I have some people in Brazil that work in the justice, and they said to me that there were clear orders to policemen to go, and they voluntarily didn't go. So it shows a bigger problem than we thought.
Indeed, a police officer is a human being. A human being obviously will have a
Exactly.
political leaning or a sense of what goes on. But obviously, one would expect with the police, there's this idea of duty, which is over and
Yeah.
above what they should feel as people, and they should apply the rule of law to the situation.
Yeah.
We're kind of saying that didn't happen.
Yeah, and I think that because Bolsonaro and Bolsonarism, it touched some identitarian, some ideological level in these people. You know,
Okay, good enough. So what does it say? Brazil's what? Democracy under threat. Why? America's democracy is under threat, is it not? Why? Because they're moving out of this. They're done with democracy. They're moving into the NWO. And the second word in NWO is world, meaning everybody. Everybody has to do away with the way things were, moving into the new. All right, so this is what we see going on. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get a couple of precepts and go ahead and end it. So, let's go to, let's go here. All right. This is going to explain what's going on right here. All right, because, hey, this guy is more wagging the dog. All right. Second Ezra's 12 and what is this? It's not Second Ezra, Salakia. It's Sirach, right? Sirach 12, Salakia. I'm tripping. Sirach 12 and 10. Never. Sometimes never. For never, never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. Though he humble himself and go crouching, what does it mean? Sneaky, being sneaky, right? Yet take good heed and be aware of him, and thou shalt be unto him as if thou hadst wiped the looking glass, and thou shalt know that his rust hath not been altogether wiped away. You know this is a scheme, okay? This is the devil we're dealing with. Jump down here to 16. An enemy speaketh sweetly with his lips, right? They're going to put on a nice movie for you. But in his heart, which is his mind, he imagineth how to throw thee into a pit. This is what they're doing. They're digging a pit called the NWO that is not good for, unless you are a billionaire, right? That pit is about you being a New Age slave. He will weep with his eyes, but if he find opportunity, he will not be satisfied with blood. All right? If adversity come upon thee, thou shalt find him there first. And though he pretend to help thee, yet shall he undermine. This whole thing is a ruse, and everybody's playing their part, right? Even if they tell you, well, we're identifying it. Well, why? Dude, you're making a movie. You're making a propaganda puff piece, right, to make people believe something other than what is actually going on. All right, so I just thought I'd point that out. This whole thing stinks. And there's more. They get in depth. Look at that. That's Bana Saranu. These guys are they're actors. This guy is the all-time biggest what do you call it? Reality show host. He's a reality show actor. All right, I'm sure this guy's an actor too. But then you got Volodymyr, what's his name? Over there in Ukraine. Zelensky. Zelensky is a comedian and an actor. You don't see everybody playing their part. Okay? Everybody's playing their part. That guy, he's playing his part. He's an actor. It's a bunch of actors. Everybody. She's playing her part. Okay? Like the OJ trial. When you go into the OJ trial and you find out that everybody involved in the trial, everybody, Lance Ito, right? Kato Kalin, everybody had their SAG card, right? The Actors Guild. Everybody was a certified actor. Denise Brown, actor, actress. Okay? What was her friend's name? The villain? I forget her name. Nicole's friend. Anyway, you got to understand that when they turn that television on, everybody that's on there is supposed to be on there. Faye Resnick, all right? Faye Resnick, actor, actress. Everybody in OJ was this guy, what's his name? The villain, the detective, Mark Furman. Mark Furman wrote screenplays, right? That's how they found nigga, because he wrote screenplays. O.J. Simpson, actor, right? B-movie actor. They were all a bunch of actors, right? And what did they do with that? They destabilized race relations in America, going all over. OJ did it, da-da-da-da. All right? The world is a stage. All right, so with that, we hope that the elect were edified. Never trust your enemy. This dude, hey, he's more subtle than any beast of the field. All right, so with that, we hope that the elect were edified with that shalom.